back here with another alumni interview, and this time it's a double feature. We've got Will and Jay Navin joining us together. Jay is out on the West Coast, and Will is here in Saratoga. He's part of the quarantine here in Saratoga, but nice to get a brotherly perspective here to start off. So let me start with Jay. Jay, you want to give us some of the highlights from your high school running career?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess probably the bigger ones were when I was a junior in indoor, we won we were 4x mile All-Americans, DMR All-Americans the following year in indoor, Class A state champs in cross country in 2012, Federation champs in 2012 for cross country. We ran an NXN that year. Finishing 11th, I believe. I got to run the Millrose games, got third, ran the Penn Relays Championship of America mile, got fifth. And then I think we got third at the state 4x8 my senior year.
Yep.
And then I finished third in 1,000 and first individually for the states. What?
Out of the slow heat, right?
Out of the slow heat, yeah, that was a crazy race. I lost by like 0.09, I think. I'm still kind of pissed about that.
This is out of the 1,000?
1,000, yeah.
And the 1,000 you ran out of the slow heat when you got third, and then the 4x8 we had to run out of the slow heat.
Yeah.
And we got second in that
heat. Out 52, yeah.
Yeah. Jay split 151 in that race, which, in relay doesn't count as an official PR, but that was smoking. That was really fast.
52-59 is not a good way to do that.
It's a painful way. One of the things I should have mentioned is this is the first interview of guys that I coach. So if you guys have been following along with these and you've watched some of the other interviews, those are guys who were they're all teammates of mine at different times, some for more years than others, but this is the first group of guys that we're interviewing that I coached. I started coaching Jay when he was a sophomore, and Will joined the program when he was a freshman. But Jay you started in 8th grade, Jay, when you started running?
I ran 7th grade outdoor track, and then was like basically full time from 8th grade on.
You were also national champ for was it the junior high or the freshman indoor mile?
Yeah, 4th in the freshman mile.
Oh, 4th. Okay. All right.
When I was a freshman, yeah, ran 4:30.
All right. Cool. All right, Will, let's hear some of your highlights.
So I don't have quite as much accolades as Jay, but most notably, I think of kind of like all the stuff we did with the 4x8. My junior year, we qualified for the state meet. Ended up taking down Jay's school record at the state meet. We came in 5th there.
Yeah.
I think Justin, Aiden, and Will Grandy ran that. And I think we ran 7:45.
7:45.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's gonna hold for a while, I believe.
Looks like it right now.
Yeah, it's not coming down this season, probably.
And then the next indoor season, we also qualified for the state meet. We didn't run quite as well there, but that was a pretty fun race at Albany there. Got the out kick.
I think I think your last lap is the fastest lap ever recorded at Albany.
I puked after that. I remember we went out to that hallway.
Yeah.
I puked all over the floor.
I know those poor custodians, but that was a great race. That was a lot of fun. And then Jay, and maybe we'll talk about this a little bit, but Jay's senior year, unfortunately, he didn't run at sectionals because the coaches messed up and didn't make sure we counted our meets right. But Jay's senior year, that group of guys was the first team to ever win a sectional championship as a team. And since then, they won 7 in a row. So when Will was on the team, starting as a freshman, he ran the 4x8 that meet, and he won sectionals all 4 years. So that was a big accomplishment for track. And then Will ran at state meet for cross country his senior year. Just senior year, Will?
Yeah, senior year.
Senior year when we ran at Shenango Valley.
Wasn't that Monroe? I thought.
No, Shenango Valley State Park in Binghamton there.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yep. All right, so let's so those are some of the highlights from these guys. Let's talk about college a little bit. Will, you're still in college, so I'll get to you in a second. Jay, you want to talk a little bit about your college running career?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I went to Northeastern University in Boston. It's like a kind of middle tier D1 program. We ran in the Colonial Athletic Association. Um, and honestly, like coming from a place like Saratoga that, is known to be, quite intense, both between the Cranix and the spring program at the time. It was kind of just like an extension of that, as far as the expectations of, your effort and just general accountability. I would say, the differences is maybe there's a bit more resources for athletes. So like you have access to, like a training room where if you're injured, you can get work done on yourself. You have a strength and conditioning staff that like has, degrees to teach you about how to lift properly. And then like academic support, so tutors and things of that nature. And like video, like recordings of lectures if you're traveling. So there is a bit more resources. There's also quite a bit more talent, I think, just like athletically. So to be a college athlete, there's just kind of like a base level that you need to be at. So it was just more competitive and more challenging, I think, day in and day out. And every race was like, there was always someone who could probably beat you, in my experience.
Yeah, I remember that was a tough adjustment for you. I remember where you had the ability to really quickly just flip a switch and win a race pretty easily in most cases in high school, maybe until we got to the state meet.
Yeah.
And even at the state meet, your ability to finish races was pretty superior to most of the guys you came across. And I remember talking to you when you were in college and just saying like one little change of gears doesn't win me the race anymore.
No, I mean, it was definitely an adjustment for me. I think I struggled with that, even just on my own team, throughout college, because there were guys that were, whether or not, more talented or not, like different conversation and hard to know, but they were, on a particular day, more fit than I was on like a workout day. And I, because I was competitive and thought of myself highly as a runner, I would oftentimes try to work out with them. And when you do that over, 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 to 12 weeks, like you kind of find yourself burning out, because you're just working out above your ability level for too long. And so my college career, I think if I look at it now, like was just a lot of being, trying to work hard, working too hard, burning myself out, and then having to like recover both physically and emotionally for like weeks or months after. So I think when I think about becoming the best runner you can be for whoever's watching this, it's like you need to be consistent in your training and just build over months and months and potentially years. And the way I approached training in college didn't enable me to do that. So I think when I look back on my college running, I think there were some positives. Like I was able to, even though I was probably middle of the pack on my team, I was able to be elected captain because I was trying hard and I like was a supportive teammate. But yeah, I think the running generally like was an underachievement and a disappointment. But you still learn a lot about yourself. You make a lot of great friends, have a lot of positive experiences. So holistically, college was great, but if you look purely at my running, it was kind of a bummer.
I want to get back to the relationships you built in a second, but Will, why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're at now and maybe talk a little bit about what went into getting to where you're at? Because I don't know if there was anybody who was like all in on one goal and dream that I worked with in high school, which made me incredibly fearful that you weren't going to get into either West Point or the Naval Academy, because I wasn't going to know how to deal with that disappointment. But thankfully, we didn't have to worry about it because you got in both places, and then we had to deal with you choosing, which was a whole nother stressful situation. But just talk a little bit about that experience, and achieving that dream of yours.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to go to West Point since I was probably 5th or 6th grade. So that everything in my life kind of revolved around setting myself up for like getting accepted. So I remember probably like 7th or 8th grade. I see Jay starting to get letters from a lot of colleges. And I remember we got a big pack from the Naval Academy, a big packet from West Point, probably a little bit later on, a little after Navy. But I think that's kind of what hooked me. I like, oh, maybe if I start running like Jay, I could maybe get one of these schools, because I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm not that smart yet. But yeah, so I ended up joining freshman year. But I ended up liking it. I really enjoyed the hard work that kind of entails running on a team and cross country, track, all that stuff. So, and I think it's prepared me well for kind of West Point in general. Just be kind of dealing with ups and downs, dealing with hard training, stuff like that, and kind of forming bonds with people, working with people on a team, getting stuff done together. So, I mean, as far as running goes, it's probably one of the most beneficial things I did, because not just because it set me up physically, it set me up mentally, and it kind of allowed me to gain some accolades on my resume for West Point. That's something they really looked forward to or looked at for applicants, like sports, varsity sports, stuff like that. So
now that you're at West Point, what have you been studying, and what have you been sort of up to now that you made it there?
I study systems engineering. It's kind of what Jay does. It's like supply chain, logistics type stuff. So not like mechanical engineering or rocket science. So it's nothing crazy like that. But that's been challenging. But as far as I can't lie to you, probably academics is my main focus. Like, I've never really been in love with academics. I love. I've started running again recently. I'm doing that again. Trying to work up to running a fast mile or something, or 2 mile. Just because I miss it. I miss working hard. Jay's been following me on Strava. He's been keeping me in check. But yeah. And
For a while, I was working out, or I was just running with people from the office, and I would go 4 miles at 8:30 pace or something, or 9-minute pace. And one time, Will Messier called me, or Snapchat video, I forget what it was. They were just roasting me for that. So we all still Evan's on there, Aiden's on there, Joe's on there, Travis is on there, and then Will's on there. We all keep in contact with each other's running via Strava. Right?
So that's a perfect segue into what I wanted to ask you guys about is just the relationships with your teammates. Both of you guys had some really strong friendships on the team. Jay, you've kept great touch with your high school friends, and then you've also built some similarly strong friendships with your college teammates. And then, Will, I've always said I don't think I've ever seen better best friends than you and Will Messier, partially because you guys are just different enough that it makes it interesting, but you also are similar in a lot of ways, even though you probably wouldn't want to admit that. So just, either one of you guys can go first, but just talk a little bit about the relationships and how that made being on the team special for you.
You can take it, Will.
Yeah, Will's been my best friend since 3rd grade. So he was always kind of a buddy on the team. But one thing I'll say is that running kind of brings people together just by the nature of the sport, like the adversity you face, the hard work you go through every day. And it kind of just develops those strong relationships. And I've seen that at West Point in similar ways. You just kind of have some really strong relationships when you do hard things together. And it's the same thing goes with high school running. So I keep in touch with Ethan, Aiden, Scott, pretty much all my teammates from high school. So it's because every day we'd go out there, we'd run hard, we'd suck together, we'd do workouts, we'd puke our brains out after some workouts. And that's probably the things I cherish most, this relationships, working hard together, grinding together. Because all my good memories from high school come from track, pretty much all my track friends. Whenever I look back on high school, those are my most fond memories, working hard. So,
yeah. What do you got, Jay?
So similar. I mean, I think being in the corporate world now, you maybe do happy hours or socialize with people at work or after work, whatever it is, but you only really see people kind of like at their best or at their like, in this short time where you're kind of able to act a little bit. And being a college athlete or a high school athlete in the way that we were, you spend so much time with the people. Like in college, you live with them too.
Right.
So you just see highs and lows, and it just forms a really, really tight bond. So yeah, I mean, I was just talking to Evan before we got on this call. Like I talk to those guys all the time. You know, as we like got a little bit away from running, it became like we started doing like road trips and backpacking together. So yeah, I know that those guys are gonna, be probably my best friends for my whole life. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, you guys are hitting on a lot of common things between these interviews that I've done, and between guys that ran in the early 2000s at Saratoga and you guys you ran in the mid 2010s and a little later. It's really common themes. It doesn't really matter. Running is kind of universal in the sense that it takes a certain type of person with a certain set of values to go all in on it. And then, like Will said, when you do hard things together with people, it does create a certain bond and a certain trust. And it's exciting to see that. And that's been my experience. I mean, between the high school friends that I had from running and then my very best friends in the world, which are my college teammates, that's what kind of forged it together. All right. Why don't we just talk a little bit about after college? So Jay, you can talk about what you are doing and have been doing, and Will, maybe some of your plans. We could go like that route. You want to start off, Jay?
Sure. Yeah. So part of the great, I'm doing like a sales pitch for Northeastern. Great part about Northeastern is they have like internships built into the curriculum. So like we'll take time off from class and go work for 6 months. And I in my case, I did that 3 times throughout my undergrad. So the last one after I finished my college eligibility, NCAA, I moved out to Seattle, Washington for 6 months, and kind of fell in love with the area. Wanted to go back after graduation, and through someone I had met at a previous internship where I worked at New Balance, I knew someone at Brooks Running, which is based in Seattle. So I got like a job offer, I guess, like in March or April, and bought a car and drove out with my dad out here in May or June. So I've been here for about 10 months, including the first internship. I've been here for like, I guess, a year and a half total. I work in inventory planning, so like on the supply chain side for Brooks. So we work a lot with the factories in Asia that produce our shoes. It's been good, got really into hiking around Washington and trail running. And I guess as of, this year, 2020, been kind of ramping up my running again, because I was supposed to run the Boston Marathon in April. Now it's in September. But I've kind of got a good training partner right now, and we're just trying to build up for future fast races to be named later.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how about once you graduate from West Point, what's sort of your plan?
Yeah, so I'll graduate hopefully next May. Probably going to be branching infantry, which I'll decide in probably October of next year. We'll make our final decisions on which we're going to branch. And then I'm hoping to go to Fort Campbell, Kentucky, with 101st Airborne. I'll make all these decisions will pretty much happen in the next six or 7 months. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that. Maybe down the road, I'd try out for some more advanced type groups, but it's pretty far away. But that's definitely on the radar right now, as far as challenge myself a little bit in the future and long-term goals. But yeah, it's pretty. Like after I graduate, I'll have to, if I end up going infantry, I'll have to go to IBOLC, which is the infantry officers basic course, then Ranger School, and then Airborne, and then I'll report to my first unit at hopefully Fort Campbell. So
nice.
Pretty much it, yeah.
All right. So to finish up, if you guys have any pieces of advice, I mean, it can be in general, or it could be about this time period we're stuck in here, where these guys aren't able to meet with coaches and really can't meet with teammates, and our facilities are limited and all that stuff about, how to kind of keep yourself going, or it can just be about running your life in general.
Jay, you want to go?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, so I think I would hope, and I think most people do hope to have an impact or some sort of I guess impact's the right word, in whatever phase they're in their life. And the framework at Saratoga to become a good runner and to continue to build the program is a great opportunity to do that. Like I mentioned about my college experience, it doesn't mean you need to be the best runner. You could just be like you call it in basketball, like a glue guy, like the one that kind of keeps the team together, or you can, go after wins or whatever it is. But, while I don't want to think that that will be the only impact I make, I think it was a great opportunity to do that in that phase of your high school life. It's you have the framework at Saratoga to do that and do something meaningful. And then as far as athletics go, your actual athletic potential, my takeaway from my career at this point is consistency is what's ultimately going to get you to being your best. I think that there's been several occasions where I've tried to whip into shape real quick in 8 weeks, and it's kind of like a get rich quick scheme. You're going to hit a ceiling. So if you really want to be a great runner, just think about it in months and years. And then also it's a lifelong sport. So when, I find myself feeling really lucky that my hobby and the thing that I enjoy, which is running, is so beneficial to my physical and mental health. There's people that find going to the gym or whatever it is to be quite just a chore. So if you just keep yourself running, keep trying to enjoy it, I think it'll just be really beneficial for the rest of your life.
That's awesome. That's great. How about you, Will? What do you think?
As far as the quarantine stuff goes, I would say just kind of train for the unexpected. You never know if the season's going to happen or not, but train for it anyways, because chances are there's a lot of people in the section or other athletes around the section that are just slacking off, and that's just an opportunity for you to go in and make something happen. So don't let up at all. You're going to have a lot more free time on your hands, so make the most of it. I mean, maybe the tracks aren't open, but you can make it work. Just put some work in. And then as far as general advice is for running, I'll just say have fun with it. I think that's something I didn't do enough of in high school, and I think it kind of showed in some points in my career. I was a little more down at some points. So I'll just say enjoy it, because when you're enjoying it, you're going to run better, you're going to have more fun, and you're going to bring up the people around you as well. So, but if you're negative, not having fun, you're going to bring the whole team down, and you're not going to do as well. It's just going to make you more upset. So try and find the good in everything. Everything's an opportunity to learn from, whether if it's a bad race, a good race, there's always something to learn, and there's always more chances to get after it. So that's all I'd say.
All right, guys. Well, that's awesome. Thanks a lot. I'm amazed by the similarities between the other interviews, considering just your guys' age differences, but also some of the unique perspectives that you guys have. So I really appreciate your time, and it was great. It was great catching up.
Yeah. Good to see you, Coach. Talk soon.
All right.